Hi, I'm Gary White for Central Kentucky Television. I'm here with Keith Brock, who is the Solid Waste, Environmental, and E911 Coordinator for Marion County.
Correct.
And we're going to talk today about a grant that you received with the recycling for the recycling program here in Lebanon and Marion County.
Correct.
Right? And they might be able to see some changes coming around as a result of this grant in the next few months. So tell us a little about this grant, if you would.
Well, let's back up a little bit and do a little in-time search of how the recycling program really started in Marion County. I hired on with the county as a part-time employee in 2004. Prior to that, the city of Lebanon had a curbside recycling program where they would come around to your residents here in Marion, in the city of Lebanon, and they would collect the stuff on a trailer and take it up to their public works department on Woodlawn and would bale it and try to sell it. Well, when the city of Lebanon several years ago first wanted to get into recycling, the Marion County Fiscal Court supplied some money to build the sheds and some of the infrastructure needs at that recycling center on Woodlawn, but the county had never really gotten into the recycling business for people out in the main part of the county. But see, about a third of the population is actually in Lebanon. So it was a good program, but we really needed to do something in Marion County, out in the county. So the Kentucky Division of Waste Management in Frankfort came out with a program whereby you could apply for a grant. And the first year that you could apply for the grant was 2007. This grant would allow communities to either establish a recycling program or improve infrastructure needs as needed at an existing facility. Now, the money for that recycling program, that grant, was obtained. We've been paying it here in Marion County because every time we transport a ton of garbage, household residential garbage, to the Nelson County landfill, and that's where all the garbage goes to, every time we transport a ton over there, we pay an environmental remediation fee of $1.75 per ton. It mounts up to a lot of money in a run of year, because I might have some figures here. I don't have the tonnage, but we're probably transporting in the neighborhood of 9,000 tons of garbage a year out of Marion County over to Nelson County landfill. So at $1.75 a ton, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, $16,000, $17,000, $18,000 is probably what we're paying in this environmental remediation fee. Every landfill in the state of Kentucky is required to collect that fee and send it to Frankfort. Now, it is put in a fund through Kentucky Division of Waste Management, whereby you can use that money to through grants to establish recycling programs, clean up open dumps, illegal open dumps, and use it for household hazardous waste grants for recalls. Now, I'll talk about that here in a minute, about a household hazardous waste recall grant that we might want to do. Well, through the years, from 2004 up to current, we have used the $1.75 per ton grant funds to clean up open dumps in Marion County. We cleaned up Scotts Ridge with them. Put in a grant. Every year I have to put in a grant. People will call me and say, Keith, I've got an open dump on my property that's an old dump. I inherited it with a farm, and can you help me get it cleaned up? Well, the fiscal court will pay for a fourth of it, and the state will pay for 3/4 of those open dump cleanups through a grant process. We cleaned up Scotts Ridge. We built a road at the base of the ridge to get the garbage out of there. The road was $75,000. The actual cleanup of the dump site on Scotts Ridge was $200,000.
Wow.
So it was $275,000 it took to clean up that mess on Scotts Ridge, and that was all done with state grants, with the fiscal court supplying a fourth of the funding through the grant process. Now, the grant has been changed whereby if you've got $50,000 or more estimated cleanup in a particular dump, the state will pay for 100% of it now. Not a 75-25 split. But back then it was a 25% split. So we've cleaned up about 20 dump sites in Marion County through the grant process. In 2007, I applied for a grant through that same program to get in business with the City of Lebanon in a cooperative effort for recycling. We bought a scale to weigh materials onto the computer system through the grant process. We also bought 8 or 9 trailers that you see around the county that goes to the different communities to allow people to deposit recyclables into it. We take those up with inmate labor. We actually bought a truck for the inmates to pull the trailers with. They turn the trailers in the communities twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, take them up to the recycling center and dump them. We bale the commodities and we sell what we can to try to help support the program. It's never going to be even a break even. It really is not. I mean, by the time you figure the labor, the infrastructure, that everything that takes, wire for the bales, you know, it's never going to be a for-profit thing.
Right.
It's just the right thing to do, and it keeps the waste out of the landfills. Now, the first year that we operated it with that first grant in 2007, we recycled with the city and the county together recycled about 213 tons of recyclables. It has increased every year to where we currently recycle 1,867 tons.
Wow.
So it's gone up measurably over the last decade. It's gone up so fast and so steadily that with the balers that we currently have, which are they're vertical balers, they just have downstrokes. We had one at the center up there that when we came into it with the city, there was one existing at the center, a baler. Then I got the old Walmart store to donate the baler. When they moved to the new supercenter, they gave us that baler, and we had a big ceremony and stuff. It was really good because it was about $5,000–6,000 gift. So we put the second baler up there, but we can't keep up with the baling anymore. It's gotten too big. Plus, we want to increase some of the waste streams that we're recycling. So, this year, we were approved, in late April, we were approved for a new grant to upgrade the infrastructure needs at the recycling center up on Woodlawn. Here's what we're going to get. They gave us a grant of $229,403, almost $250,000. Yeah. Wow. They gave us everything we asked for in the grant. Now usually they'll cherry pick a little bit and say, no, we can only give you this many of, and they'll cut the grant down. But fortunately they had enough money in the fund to where they could grant us the whole 9 yards. What we're going to do, we're going to put in a big horizontal baler up there. And that baler was going to run them almost $139,000 just for the baler. It's already ordered. We put in a new Toyota forklift up there of the $229,000. It was about $28,000 for this new. It's already been delivered. We're gonna do some other storage bunkers, metal bunkers, storage bunkers, 30 of them, to where we can put recyclables. Use a forklift to dump it into the baler directly. Going to get 30 of those. We're going to get a special grappling attachment that goes on the Bobcat up there to where we can grab this stuff and put it in the storage bunkers. We're also going to remodel and redo, and we'll completely refabricate all of the storage bins that are on the 3 trailers that go to the different communities. The ones that are special trailers, and they go to Raywick, Bradfordsville, Loretta, and they got a side deposit to where they're a little smaller, and they've gotten kind of beat up over the last decade. So they're gonna be brand new. Going to get 24 new bins for that. So that's what we're going to do with the money, and the grant has already been blessed and approved. The forklift has been ordered and already delivered to the recycling center, and the grant is effective July 1 to June 30th of 2017. Now, there's a catch to this, And I want to mention what the City of Lebanon has stepped up to do for us and for the whole program. That grant has to be a 25%, 75% grant, just like the old dump grants was. And because it was over $50,000, it didn't do away with the 25%. We have to come up with a 25% match. Now you do that with labor, whatever. The City of Lebanon says if we can get this match, if we can get this new baler, which is a huge baler, we'll build a brand new building, a 4,000 square foot building, concrete floor, wired, heated and everything, to set the new baler and all the new stuff in. That building is gonna more than meet the match for this grant.
Okay.
So going forward, you're going to see some new construction rise up at the Woodlawn facility, probably in the back somewhere, where they will build a new building, and then we'll get the baler. When we get the floor poured and get it all in there, we'll put the new baler and the equipment in there, and we'll be ready to go. Now, we're going to be increasing some waste streams. Some of the factories that we're currently not servicing has different wastes. Could be shrink wrap, could be cardboard, some things that are pretty valuable waste streams that are not currently on the route that we can bring to that facility. We'll start running routes maybe locally to increase our waste. Questions? What questions do you have?
So you're talking about for increasing the waste streams for primarily that be with the factories, or will people in their homes be able to recycle more as well?
They will. They will. Because we'll be able to rapidly bale and run it through the process. Right now, we're limited on what we can take because we don't have the equipment to do it.
Right.
Now, there are going to be some things, Gary, that we'll probably never be able to take. One of them is I've really tried hard to get a good outlet for styrofoam. You know, every time you buy a flat screen TV, you've got this TV this big, and then you've got a room full of styrofoam. Well, there is equipment to do the styrofoam that we may eventually get, but it's about $40,000 because you got to heat it, you got to grind it, and you can take this halfway, this room full of styrofoam here, and you can melt it down into this big.
Wow.
In a melted block. That's that's the way they want it. So styrofoam will probably not be able to take.
Then what do they make out of that melted down styrofoam?
Don't know. I guess they recycle it and make more styrofoam out of it.
Okay, so it comes back again.
Right.
Okay.
We're probably never going to be able to take cathode ray type older television sets. They've got to still go to the landfill through the transfer station. We will hopefully increase our e-waste, electronic waste. Right now we have a drop-off for that, and we've worked with people on getting rid of their electronic waste. And we'll probably never be able to take oils, antifreeze, things that are either universal waste or hazardous waste. We're not going to be able to do that because that costs a lot of money to get rid of that stuff. It really does. Give you a good example of that. Periodically I'll get a pesticide call from people who have empty pesticide containers or people who have partially full. And agriculture has got, the Department of Agriculture has got a program whereby I can put them in contact with and they'll come and get it. But there are some things that they won't even take. I had one individual that called me, and he had several 55-gallon empty drums, partially filled, some of them, with formaldehyde solution. Now 10% formalin solution is what you use to embalm people with. But a lot of the dairies and a lot of the farmers used it through the years as a foot wash. In other words, as you go into the dairy parlor or the hog parlor, they would have, you'd step your boots, your gum boots, through this water trough that had formaldehyde-based solution in it, and it would kill all the germs and wouldn't carry the germs into the livestock. Well, you've got to get rid of that waste. And you've got a little, and they've quit using that now.
Yeah.
So I can suggest people, if they'll call me, I can suggest people what to do.
Right.
As they use it. Usually the manufacturer will come back and get the empty drums, but if you accumulate the drums, you're going to get stuck with the drums. And you're talking about $100 or $150 a piece to get rid of empty plastic drums that have contained some hazardous waste. So it takes a little forethought oftentimes. So there are some things that I really can't help them with. But here's another interesting side note to this grant process. Now, we've utilized the open dump grant every year that I've been here. We got one to clean up this year. I just awarded it back in April up in Gravelsville. One of the Amish people came in from Ohio or Michigan, bought an old piece of property, had a lot of dumps on it. I got rid of 400 tires through a grant process for that Amish person. Had the recycler come out and get them. Yeah. Didn't cost him a nickel. Tires. He had open dumps, and we're going to get that cleaned up this year. So that'll be, I think, the 20th dump that we've cleaned up since '06. Wow. Since Scotts Ridge with the grant process. We've used the recycling grant process twice now. The third one is a household hazardous waste dump grant. Now, what that is, I get calls here. People said, you know, I've got an old quart jar of Ritamil that I used to use on tobacco, or disulfiton, which is 6X tobacco spray, or Chlordane that they've banned, and I've got a piece of a bottle. What can I do with that? Well, Department of Agriculture has got a program where they can come and get it, and I can help contacts with that. But there are chemicals under the kitchen sink and in barns, like old spray cans, old cans of waste paint and things that individuals, not farmers, have that want to get rid of. Well, I can get a company through this grant to come and manage like a 2-day recall. And anything that you got under the kitchen sink, you can bring in your vehicle and we'll unload it and we'll pack it in approved containers and take it to a hazardous waste dump somewhere in the surrounding area. Do it in an approved fashion. And we can do that with a grant. I just haven't had time to put that together yet, but at some point in the next year or 2 or 3, I'll put it together and get the fiscal court. The magistrates are really good about approving that because it's a wonderful service, just like the dump sites are. I'll get them to put that together and get that for the residents. Maybe have it up to the recycling center on Woodlawn, a central point. Yeah. And if you've got something under your kitchen sink, bring it in. Old aerosol cans that are half full, the label's gone, whatever. Yeah. And I'll try to get that done. Really well. Questions?
So this grant hopefully will make it easier for people to recycle. They can recycle more. And also part of the grant is that Channel 6, as well as some of the local media, is going to be letting people know about the recycling that is available here and what people can recycle.
Yes. And glad you brought that up, because as part of the grant, I put in there a good amount for educational component through our local media. And you're, of course, part of the local media. So we're going to have TV spots and things over the period of a year or something after we get the baler and get it going and can actually accept stuff. Then I'll get with you, Gary, and I'll get with the local media, and we'll start putting spots on about reminders, recycling, what you can break in, and that kind of thing.
Yes, so keep tuned into Channel 6 so you can find out what you can be recycling, because hopefully we're going to increase that number, continually increasing the amount of recycling that's being done.
Right. I'm going to tell you an interesting side note to this all. I said earlier in this interview that the recycling initiative and the sale of components of commodities is never going to be a for-profit industry. It's never going to be. Right. One thing is because it's kind of like the price of steel in China. You know, a couple of 3 years ago, when the price of steel was $160 a ton, best thing that ever happened in Marion County, because every fence row in Marion County emptied out on the farms. They all took it down and sold it. Well, that price has tanked now. From about $150 or $60 a ton, it's probably $75 or $80 a ton. It's over half. Because China got wet feet and they've kind of crawfished on us. Same thing has happened with recyclable commodities from the recycling center. Cardboard, which is a good one, it fluctuates. It might go down to $30 or $40 a ton, and it might be up as high as $120 a ton. So it's cyclic. Milk jugs and different things are One thing that we have to do up there, though, and we've decided to do, and this is another part of this grant, is we've got a real good supply of inmate labor, and a lot of our work up there is done with inmate labor and the city work crew. We bought a used surplus conveyor system from Washington County, who also has a recycling center. It's a 30-foot conveyor with a big belt, and it runs. You can dump stuff on this belt, and inmates can sort it and put your milk jugs over here and your butter containers over here. If you can sort and keep your recyclables from being commingled, they bring more money because they want good baled stuff. They don't want the butter in with the milk.
Right.
Milk, even though milk and butter goes together. Yeah. So we've got this conveyor system that we're going to set up when we get the baler and all in, get that done too. But going forward, we're really going to try to make it more efficient and sort the materials and make it more friendly to the people. I want to do a word of caution on this whole thing. People need to know this. We've posted signs up at the recycling center to this effect and put cameras up there. People will come up there and they'll pick through it and they'll try to get commodities and they'll take stuff out once it's deposited. That's against the law. Once that stuff is deposited, those wastes are deposited in that recycling center, they become government property. And you're not to go up there and pick through it and see what you like, what's good and what's not good. Because it's the same as pilfering or stealing.
So, and you will be recorded on video.
You are, and you risk prosecution. You know, you could get a summons. Now, I have several court cases in a run of a year, but usually they're for illegal dumping or something out in the county. I get a criminal summons for a person. That could happen. You know, if we get if we get offenders up there all the time, if people don't keep it clean, if they don't do their best, we don't expect you to completely sort everything out. We don't expect that because we'll have inmates do that. But don't take stuff away from the center and don't dump stuff up there that's not listed on the boxes.
Right.
Now, what will we do if it gets out of hand? We'll do the same thing. The city and the county will do the same thing that we did the last time it got out of hand. They begin to dump and we closed it, except during hours of operation on the Public Works Department. Right now, that place stays open from daylight till dusk. But we closed it from 7 in the morning till they leave at 3:30 in the afternoon. That was when it was open. And people really found out that they needed it open. And they've kept it pretty good shape now. As long as that continues, it'll continue to be left open. Otherwise, it won't.
Well, that's some information on a grant that was received from Marion County for doing some recycling, and we hope to continue growing the amount of recycling because it's good for the environment.
Yeah. Let me throw in something else for everybody. You know, if you take something up to the recycling center, there is an 8-yard dumpster at the recycling center and it's usually intended for waste that can't be deposited at the center. You can just walk across the parking lot and put it in a dumpster. We know that people bring sacks of garbage up there from their home when the garbage is missed or something, and they'll throw it in a dumpster, and it's really loaded after the weekend's over. The dumpster is. That's okay. That's okay. Because the city of Lebanon is not being charged for that dumpster. We do that courtesy from the county. Transport it to the landfill, dispose it, turn it, and everything courtesy. The dumpster belongs to the city. But think about this. If you've got a piece of furniture or something that you know that you can't deposit at that recycling center, and you know that it's not the right way to dispose of it by putting it in an 8-yard dumpster, but you also know in the back of your mind that the transfer station out past the fairgrounds, on Fairgrounds Road is open from 7 till 3 daily and every second Saturday, the same hours, for free disposal of that stuff. Be a good citizen and take that stuff out to the transfer station. Make a run out there rather than to throw it there by that dumpster. It's ridiculous, the stuff that people throw away. What they'll do is they'll bring bathroom sinks, couches, whatever, and try to put it in that dumpster. Well, to me, folks, that's being lazy. You know, we shouldn't have to bow at the ankles to offer a free service. So, run it out to the fairgrounds, transfer station, during normal hours, 7 till 3, Monday through Friday, except holidays, or any second Saturday, and you dispose of it. They'll never question it. You throw it right in the truck, and it'll be taken care of. Free. Can't beat it.
That's right. Now, if you have any other questions about recycling or solid waste, you can contact.
Yeah, I'll give him his
Keith.
phone number.
Yep.
Okay, it's Keith Brock, and my primary responsibility here at working here in the David R. Hergen Government Office Building is I do the solid waste coordination, the recycling coordination, environmental coordinator for the county. Any environmental question, I don't care if it's air, land, and water, I'll try my best to help you. I do the environmental enforcement, and I do all the new addressing and E911 coordination for the county. I work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays normally. Now, if it's a holiday on Monday, I'll work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Now, they pay me for 3 days. You know, I always work more than that, but I'm here 3 days a week, from 8 in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon. Give me a call. My number is 270-692-0799, and I'll help you. I really will. I'm not going to beat you up, but I'll help you.
I'll help him out. Okay. Well, again, I've been talking with Keith Brock, who is the Environmental, Solid Waste, and E911 Coordinator for Marion County. It's been Gary White for Central Kentucky Television.